Once upon a time there was a kingdom. The king there had only one leg and one eye, but he was a very intelligent and kind man, and everyone in his kingdom lived a happy and healthy life because of their king. One day the king was walking through the palace hallway and saw the portraits of his ancestors. He thought that one day his children will walk in the same hallway and remember all the ancestors through these portraits. But the king did not have his portrait painted. Due to his physical condition, he wasn't sure how his painting would turn out. So he invited many famous painters from his and other kingdoms to his court. The king then announced that he wanted a beautiful portrait made of himself to be placed in the palace. Any painter who could carry out this should come forward and would be rewarded based on how his painting turned out. All the painters began to think that the king only has one leg and one eye. How can his picture be made beautiful? It isn't possible, and if the picture does not turn out to look beautiful, then the king will get angry and punish them. So one by one, all started to make excuses and politely declined to make a painting of the king. But suddenly one painter raised his hand and said, "I will make a very beautiful portrait of you, your majesty, which you will surely like." The king became happy hearing that, and other painters got curious. The king gave him the permission, and the painter started drawing the portrait. He then filled in the drawing with paints, and finally, after taking a long time, he said that the portrait was ready. All of the court, all the other painters were curious and nervous, thinking, how can this painter make the king's portrait beautiful? Because the king has these physical problems. What if the king didn't like the painting and gets angry? But when the painter presented the portrait, everyone in the court, including the king, were left stunned. The painter made a portrait in which the king was sitting on the horse, on the one leg side holding his bow and aiming the arrow with his one eye closed. The king was very pleased to see that the painter had made a beautiful portrait by cleverly hiding the king's disabilities. And so he received a great reward. It's all too easy to see what's wrong in any situation. Maybe that's why the TV news is generally filled with bad stories, with one positive story tacked onto the end, as if that creates some sort of balance. As people of faith, we should be seeking out the best, not focusing on the worst. Like the painter of the king, we should accentuate the good, not dwell on the bad. St. Paul gave this advice to a fledgling church. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honourable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Keep safe and well.
Come, let us all unite to sing, God is love. Let heaven and earth their praises bring, God is love. Let every soul from sin awake, each in his heart sweet music make, and sing with us for Jesus' sake. For God is love. God is love. God is love. Come, let us all unite to sing that God is love. Oh, tell to earth's remotest bound, God is love. In Christ we have redemption found. God is love. His blood has washed our sins away. His Spirit turned our night to day. And now we can rejoice to say that God is love. God is love. God is love. Come, let us all unite to sing that God is love.
Let us call to mind our concerns and commitments, and let us join our prayers for the peace and well-being of the whole world. Let us remember those people we know who are in trouble, and pray for healing and happiness for all. Let us seek divine encouragement for honest trade and decent commerce, for useful and courteous service in daily life, for medicine and education, and for those gifts and aptitudes in every person which make for a happier and fairer community living. Let us pray for peace on earth, for a generous sharing of the earth's resources, and the responsible sharing of the earth's problems, for tolerance across divisions, and willingness to regard the diversity of human culture as more stimulating than threatening, for the turning of plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. Let us pray for the Church by all its names and in all its places, for its continuing usefulness as a channel of grace and hope, and protection from pretentiousness and pomposity, and from taking some things more seriously than is healthy. Amen.